For the love of baby boomers, welcome back. I'm your host, Dolores Clivert, and today we have a guest, Karen, who is with us, and she's talking about tiny homes. She lives in one, and she has been describing her journey to living in one, and now she's getting ready to continue that journey and letting us know what she does. Karen, welcome back. Tell us about this cottage that you have on your property.
Okay, so one of the things that we did not want when we built a tiny house was a loft. We're both older, and us climbing into a loft was not an option. So our bedroom is all one level, which also limits your guest space. Now, I can't fit guests in my home, but there's no personal space for them. So I do have so many people come over. They absolutely love the setting. It's very woodland and calming. So and they don't leave. So I'm turning. They just don't. I'm turning a small shed. It's 160 square foot, so I think it's 10. That'd be 10 by 16 into just a bedroom. It'll have a bedroom, a small bathroom, and a kitchenette in there. So we're actually starting that in the next few weeks. So I'm super excited because I already have the shed, so it's no cost there. And I have friends and neighbors who will do the walls and insulation, and it will be a nice guest cottage that'll sleep two.
Wow. So you could have people come visit you for a time period, but not be in your face. Wonderful.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wonderful. Yes. And then you have your space, and it sounds wonderful. Now, your space is on a plot of land that you own, so you don't have to pay lot fees. Is that correct?
Correct. So, it's in I don't want to say neighborhood. It's kind of a neighborhood, I guess. So we have some people who are there that live there full time, and some people who just come down on the weekends because, again, we are on the water. So some people just come on the weekends. But everybody that lives there is in a very small home, more of a cabin. I don't think there's a house on our little road that's over 1,000 square foot. So we all live very small.
Okay. Well, you keeping it simple. That's the way I look at it, keeping it simple. And when we get to a certain age of life, when we have children, grandchildren are not with us, why do we need so much room? We have to think about that. We really do.
Right.
So you have this land, and you don't have to worry about paying lot rent, which, let me explain. If you have a tiny house and you put it on a plot of land with other houses, you might have to pay $500 or $600 a month just to be on that land. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, I mean, and that would be, and sometimes, you have to look at utilities as well. Sometimes that may include utilities, but you may have to still pay for utilities on top of the rent for the land.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, boomers, or anybody listening, that you would have to pay additional just to have the space, the setup. But if you have your own land, that's something different as well. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of grass and maintenance. Do you have a lot of trees? I'm just curious.
I do. So we had, several cut just for safety reasons. At Alabama, of course, lots of, tornadoes and such. So we try to be a little safe. But yeah, I do have a lot of trees. So part of my yard is mostly shade, which of course helps with heating and air as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tell us more about your husband. I know that you mentioned that he did carpentry. He was good with his hands.
Yes.
Tell us more about him.
So before he passed, he, always did woodworking, built cabinets and things. So he was able to build out the whole shell of our shed. So when he built the cabinets, most cabinets are fairly deep. So he did not make the cabinets as deep. Mm-hmm. So we had more walking space. And, so when you're able to have a builder, you're able to really do those custom things that make a huge difference. 6 inches is a huge difference in a kitchen when you only have 5 foot. Mm-hmm. So he customed everything. He did the ceilings. We used a local wood mill here in our area, so all the wood was locally from here, and he cut it and did everything. So even like our headboard, is built into the wall, so there's it doesn't utilize a lot of space. It's just amazing, and so every time I look at it, I know he's still there. So he's still part of that home. But having built it ourselves, I also know what maintenance is required. He was always about safety, and he always said, because he was so much older, that he's not going to be around, so I needed to know how to do things. So he was an excellent teacher. So when some of our outdoor boards have needed replaced, I've been able to do those things. That's really important.
Yeah.
Yes.
He passed on. He didn't keep things to himself, and you were inquisitive. Evidently, both of y'all worked together. That's great.
Yeah, well, sort of, most of the time. Yeah.
Well, that's how life is,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how life is.
But I will say, living in this community after he passed, it has been like, I truly think when you're living around like-minded people, when you're in a small community, everybody is living fairly small. They have the same attitude. They're not about things. They're about people. They're about events. And, so everybody was so amazing and so kind to me, after he passed, and, have been willing to help with anything. And, we just have such a close-knit community because we're all so similar. I mean, we're all different in terms of our religious beliefs and our political beliefs and all of those things, but we all want the same thing out of life. We all want to be happy and content, and it's not about things. Yes. And we have that. And I think when you start looking at people who have chosen to go small or tiny, you see that same trait. That let's get back to what's important in life.
Right, exactly. Well, you mentioned he was older. Did you mention his age at any point? How much older was he?
So he was 63 when he passed. So he was 11 years older than me. Okay. So he was just killed in a tragic car accident. So very unexpected. But, I think being older too, and I'm an occupational therapist, so I'm very aware of things like as we age, what needs to be accessible. So, when people look at tiny, I think most people look at the tiny homes that are on the 8-foot trailers. But the problem with those as we get older is if you need to use a walker or a wheelchair, those spaces are not going to be accessible. So going up a little larger as we did, everything is accessible. So if we needed a wheelchair or a walker, we can still get into the bathroom, we can still get into the bedroom, we can still reach everything we need to reach. And that was really important to me.
Yeah, that's really important to boomers and people growing older. Now, you mentioned that your place was 500 and...
It's about 525.
And the normal size or the average size for a tiny home is?
220 if you're doing the trailers. So the ones that you buy, that are on like Tiny House Nation and all those great shows, they're usually built on a trailer. They're mobile. So the trailer is typically 8 foot wide. And then, depending on the length and then the loft size. So they always include the loft size and the square footage. But, sometimes those lofts aren't really living spaces. They're
those
not very
lofts,
functional.
you have to bend down and crack your back just to move around. Is that right?
Exactly. And you really can't stand up to change clothes in them, and I'm a little too old to be, scooting around and trying to, get my hips.
Yeah. And then you got to climb up there on top of all of that.
Yes.
So it's really it's just space. That's just space. It's not
right, and that would be great. I think if you're very young, and if you have grandkids that come over, I think those are great spaces. But from a practical standpoint, most of us are not 50 and older, not going to be climbing up a ladder.
No. So it sounds like so you knew what you wanted. You upped your space. You upped it by a lot, really.
Yeah, I doubled it, but still, it's a fourth of the size of a normal house in this United States. Yeah.
But you don't have the loft because you don't need it and it's not practical, but you have the width.
Right.
So the hips can move and you can stand up and bend down, you know. Yeah. So you have to know what you want, people. You have to do your research. You have to say, okay, how long am I going to live here? Am I going to grow old here? And if you plan on growing old, then don't get a loft.
No. And like things like washer and dryer, do you have a space for a washer and dryer? Or are you going to be going, to, the laundromat all the time? Again, that's not something we want to do. So, making sure you have space for that. And we did a stackable, but a full-size stackable. Okay. So we can still do, like our bedding and all that with no problem. So, kind of just thinking through, because when you start looking at tiny houses, they are so cute and they have them fixed up really well.
Right.
But then the practicality, like, can you really live in 160 square foot or 100, 220, full time? I feel like, the 500, even a 400 or 500 square foot space is a really good space. And I think in terms of living there forever, I wouldn't move. There is no way, even if I won the lottery, I would not move. I would stay in a tiny home, and I wouldn't leave the house I'm in, actually. So I love it.
Oh, that is so amazing to hear. I really like that. And, like I introduced it at the beginning of the show, I'm on my journey to make a move. And I'm in a small house, over 1,000 square foot, but it's not a tiny home. But I know I don't need a big house. And I don't need big bills. That's how I look at it. And I want something that's mine, meaning I don't want furniture from everybody that has lived before me and have left me this and left me that. And, I want mine,
Yes.
So this really sounds interesting to me. So we have like 3 or 4 minutes left, and I would like to talk about a story of mine. When you talked about climbing steps and going up in the loft, and I mentioned hips or whatever, there was a time that I had hip problems and doing things was very difficult. I fell a couple of times, and if you're going to move, you want to move in a place that is safe for you. That you're able to lift your legs and do what you need to do so that you don't do a lot of falling. And I mention this because one of the things I did to make myself safe, to feel protected, is to get a medical alert. And the medical alert, I'm telling you, I love it because if I fall or if I stumble, it goes off automatically and it lets me know, is this, do we need to call assistance, or is this something that, just let them know if you're okay. And I pay for this medical alert monthly, and I wear it around my neck. The company I use is Lively. And I share this with my audience because if you feel that you want to be protected, if you have hip problems, knee problems, or anything like that, check out Lively. Go to my Facebook page or email me, and I'll send you the information. Again, the email and Facebook page is For the Love of Baby Boomers. That's for, and that's LUV, For the Love of Baby Boomers. If you email me, I will send you that information. You will get $25 off of your expense for getting that medical alert. And it's a win-win for both, because if you get the medical alert, I will get $25 off my next bill. So consider that for your safety.